Powerful family on American soil. The Campbell family had been a pillar of Boston's elite for over 3 generations. Their success story was the quintessential American dream. Immigrants who built a modest diner into a multi-million-dollar restaurant group with their name etched in gold on billboards across the Northeast. They lived in a sprawling colonial-style mansion just outside the city, a home where imposing portraits of family ancestors watched over every dinner party and board meeting. At the head of the family was Charles Campbell, a man known for his iron will and traditional values. After the passing of his first wife, he remarried Patricia, a sophisticated socialite who quickly took the reins in both the family's personal affairs and their business. Patricia was admired in the community, a fixture at charity galas, and the face of the Campbell Foundation. But within the family walls, her presence was more daunting, especially to Anna, Charles's daughter from his first marriage. Anna Campbell had always been the quiet achiever. From a young age, she loved numbers and strategy, often found by her father's side during business meetings, sketching out restaurant layouts on napkins. She graduated at the top of her class from Harvard Business School and joined Campbell Group with the hope of one day leading the family legacy. But in the Campbell family, tradition ran deep, and leadership typically remained in the hands of men. While Anna's younger brother, Andrew, was friendly and outgoing, his business acumen lagged far behind Anna's sharp instincts. Nevertheless, Andrew's wife, Emma, seamlessly fit the mold of the perfect Campbell woman, polished, charming, and ever eager to impress Patricia. Subtle but unmistakable, Anna felt the walls closing in. During Sunday dinners, Patricia would direct business talk toward Andrew and Emma, rarely seeking Anna's opinion. Questions about succession were cautiously redirected or ignored. Anna's unyielding work ethic and reserved demeanor often became points of criticism, with Patricia remarking that Anna was too intense or not approachable enough to lead. Meanwhile, Emma played her cards strategically, forging alliances with key staff and constantly updating Patricia on internal gossip. Emma seemed to be everywhere, hosting fundraisers, making small talk with local politicians, ensuring that Patricia saw her as the logical choice to involve in company decisions. Despite her credentials and dedication, Anna was increasingly treated as a mere figurehead, expected to smile at press events and uphold the family name, but not trusted with the strategic reins. The atmosphere at home grew charged. Undertones of rivalry, whispered conversations behind closed doors, and a sense that Anna's every move was being scrutinized, waiting for a single misstep. In this gilded cage, surrounded by privilege, but boxed in by tradition and prejudice, Anna's story of resilience and her journey to reclaim her rightful place was about to begin. Silent schemes beneath the dazzling veneer of wealth and unity. A quiet battle brewed within the Campbell family. Outwardly, their lives were marked by glittering charity galas, award ceremonies, and picture-perfect family gatherings. But behind closed doors, Patricia and Emma harbored ambitions and secrets far more complex than their public personas suggested.
Hello again.
Patricia's discontent simmered just beneath the surface. Having maneuvered her way into her late husband's inner circle, she became fiercely protective of the influence she held. She saw Anna, brilliant but reserved, principled but unyielding, as a threat to the quiet authority she wielded. Emma sensed this vulnerability and seized the opportunity. Emma wasn't just a dutiful daughter-in-law. She was a master of subtlety and manipulation, expertly positioning herself as Patricia's confidant and trusted ally. the two women began to orchestrate a series of subtle yet devastating schemes designed to erode Anna's foothold, both in the family and in the business. It started innocuously enough. Patricia would forget to invite Anna to important meetings, or pass off her strategic ideas as Andrew's own when recalling them to Charles. Emma picked up the baton, spreading just the right whispers among the Campbell Group staff, suggesting Anna lacked the people skills to truly lead, or that her pursuit of innovation put the company's heritage at risk. They coordinated their stories, planting seeds of doubt. When a major Campbell Group location in downtown Boston experienced a sudden drop in profits, Emma was quick to hint that Anna's aggressive new marketing plan, approved reluctantly after much debate, had been a costly misstep. Patricia would reinforce these claims at family dinners, her tone sorrowful, but her words calculated, often with Anna sitting silent at the table, as accusations veiled, as concerns flowed freely. Employees who expressed loyalty to Anna found themselves quietly sidelined, handed less important assignments, or promoted out of the main office. Patricia and Emma were careful. There was never an outright confrontation, only 1,000 small cuts, enough to damage Anna's reputation without ever appearing malicious. As weeks went on, Anna noticed how people's attitudes shifted. Formerly friendly colleagues now avoided eye contact. Trusted managers grew circumspect when offering information. Emails chain-leaked to Patricia's allies, increasingly lost Anna from important decisions. Emma skillfully manipulated office politics, using private conversations and confidential chats to create a narrative that Anna was aloof, indecisive, and, ultimately, unfit to take the helm. The most insidious part of Patricia and Emma's operation lay in their plausibility. Every setback could be explained away. Every rumor was just a concern for the company's well-being. Each disappointment Anna suffered was viewed by the rest of the family as a natural consequence of her cold leadership style. Anna felt herself being slowly boxed out from all directions, her competence questioned, her decisions undermined, her support system quietly dismantled. The silent web of schemes tightened week by week, leaving Anna increasingly isolated, with her future hanging perilously in the balance. The counterattack begins. It was a brisk, gray Monday morning in early March, the kind that Boston did so well, when Anna Campbell realized she stood perched at the edge of ruin. She had always known Patricia, and Emma viewed her with envy and suspicion, but only now, as her most trusted managers grew distant, and her email inbox seemed full of meetings she had never heard about, did the realization sharpen into urgency. The Campbell household, filled with the ghosts of past leaders and the scent of polished wood, had become a battleground in which Anna was fighting alone, outnumbered and underestimated. But Anna Campbell was not the sort to crumble. After weeks, months, of feeling the world shift under her feet, she made a vow that morning. She would not let them cut her out, not her family, not her business, her legacy. If Patricia and Emma wanted a quiet coup, they would discover just how shrewd and resilient a Campbell could be when she had nothing left to lose. Gathering intelligence. Anna's approach was nothing like the open confrontations of movies or soap operas. Instead, she slipped silently into the shadows of her own company, observing, listening, and learning. She invested in a private, encrypted phone. She had persistent but discreet conversations with IT, confirming just how thoroughly her access had been limited, and her digital footprints monitored. For every door Patricia tried to close, Anna found a vent, a window, a crack through which she could see just enough. She started making meticulous notes, Dates, times, faces, snippets of whispered conversations she overheard in corridors, careless remarks Patricia made over her second glass of wine, employees' nervous glances in her direction. Anna was no stranger to strategy. She'd survived Harvard Business School, after all. She approached this like a hostile takeover, breaking the challenge into manageable pieces, building a wall of evidence, one fact at a time. Occasionally, she'd stay late at the office, not to catch up on work as everyone else assumed, but to scan archives, trace paper trails, and sift through old memos and financial reports. One night, she discovered a folder half buried in the recycling bin, outside the finance director's office. Inside was a hastily printed spreadsheet of inexplicable expense reimbursements, payments routed through third-party consulting companies that, upon closer scrutiny, had no real employees or services to their name. She took pictures of everything. Anna learned the power of documentation. She encrypted her files and backed everything up to an off-site drive. Secrecy was now her closest ally, recruiting allies. Anna knew she couldn't fight this war as an island. The trick was learning whom to trust. The Campbell Group, with its hundreds of employees and years of loyalty to the family brand, must surely include a handful who still believed in her. She started with old allies.
Over here, sir.
A retired CFO with a soft spot for Anna's late mother. A marketing director whose career Anna had quietly championed years before. And even Tom, the company's grizzled head of security. Tom, in particular, became a lifeline. He had seen enough power plays to recognize a setup when he saw one. Quietly, he flagged unusual patterns in the building's security logs. Emma's after-hours meetings with unfamiliar guests, late-night print jobs from Patricia's assistant, strange badge swipes in the finance office, long after everyone should have gone home. Tom provided Anna with building surveillance data and keycard records, all under the radar. Every piece was another brick in Anna's growing case. She was careful not to overplay her hand. With each ally, Anna posed as if she needed advice, not loyalty, allowing them to come to their own conclusions. When she showed the former CFO a sample of the suspicious reimbursements, the woman raised her eyebrows. This isn't just sloppy, Anna. It feels intentional. Soon, Anna had a small but fiercely loyal circle. They became her eyes and ears, feeding her gossip, discreet warnings, and insights. They let slip, for instance, that Emma had lunch regularly with a well-known competitor, always off-site, always in private. Another tipped Anna off to a string of internal emails, proposing policy changes that would subtly weaken Anna's departmental oversight. Tracing the money, Anna's greatest weapon was her analytical mind, a mind sharpened by years of poring over profit and loss statements and dissecting market trends. Now, she turned these skills to the company's finances, burrowing through line after line. Looking for irregularities, she discovered that a portion of Campbell Group funds had been quietly siphoned into a shell company, supposedly for consulting services. The signatures authorizing the wire transfers had been forged, or, perhaps more damning, signed under duress by recent hires, pressed into secrecy by Patricia's or Emma's manipulation. Anna went further. She hired a discreet forensic accountant, someone outside the Campbell Group who owed her a favor. Together, they worked late into the night, tracing the movement of money. The trail led to Emma. Every few weeks, just ahead of a big board meeting, a sum would leap from the shell company to a personal savings account under Emma's maiden name. Anna documented each transaction, saving copies, creating an ironclad digital paper trail, surveillance, and setups. It wasn't only financial proof Anna was after. She wanted undeniable evidence of conspiracy. the kind that could not be twisted, denied, or swept aside by family loyalties. With Tom's help, Anna reviewed phone records and security camera footage. One rainy Thursday evening, she caught Patricia and Emma on video in the conference room, passing folders across the table while they exchanged urgent, low-voiced words. Though the audio was poor, Tom's tiny lapel recorder, planted earlier that day for routine maintenance, picked up the most critical exchange. Patricia warning Emma to hurry with the transaction before Anna got wind. Meanwhile, Anna started recording her own phone calls, keeping fastidious logs and transcripts. When Emma, sounding all sweetness and innocence, called to suggest Anna take a break from work to clear her head, Anna let her words hang in the air, knowing every veiled message was now documented, fueling suspicion. But Anna didn't intend to strike blindly. She began, gently, to sow seeds of doubt among the board members and certain extended family. At meetings, she would raise small but cutting questions. Has anyone else noticed this pattern? Did you mean to say this expense was authorized? Anna's habit of listening more than she spoke began to pay off. She caught the nervous flickers in Patricia's eyes, the defensive tone Emma used when board members requested details. Anna's composure, her refusal to crumble, made people curious. Whispers spread. Some colleagues reconsidered their loyalties. A few even apologized in private for having doubted her. The carefully coiffed image Patricia and Emma had worked to construct showed its first cracks, preparing the strike. By late spring, Anna was nearly ready. She had a thick file, both digital and physical, financial statements, surveillance footage, emails, and logs, tapes, and transcripts. She rehearsed the coming confrontation like a chess grandmaster, a move here, a counter-move there, always several steps ahead. She coordinated quietly with her attorney, briefing him on the details and preparing for the possibility of the board or even law enforcement becoming involved. Yet, Anna kept her plans close to the chest. The day before the family's annual summer gala, a Campbell Group tradition emphasizing unity and legacy, Anna spent a silent hour in her mother's old study, her efforts stacked high in a file on the desk. She was ready to expose not only the fraud, but the rot that threatened everything the Campbells had worked for. Unbeknownst to Patricia and Emma, the powerless daughter and overlooked sister was about to become their greatest adversary. The storm she would unleash would not be loud or vengeful, but precise, thorough, and utterly unassailable. The first blow would land at the gala in full view of those who had ever doubted Anna's strength or dismissed her as just another face in a family portrait. And no matter what heartbreak or fallout followed, Anna Campbell knew one thing for certain. This time, she wouldn't let them win. Facing the deceit, the Campbell mansion was a study in elegance that July afternoon. Sunlight streamed through the arched windows, glinting off polished silverware as the family gathered in the formal dining room for what was presented as a regular strategic review, part corporate debrief, part family tradition. The mahogany conference table, surrounded by stately chairs, had witnessed more than a few business battles over the years, but none as decisive as what was about to play out. Anna arrived early, deliberately. She wore a navy suit that projected calm confidence, and, for the first time in months, she felt anchored. Her file sat heavy beside her, meticulously organized, labeled, and ready. As the room filled, Anna noted the subtle signals. Patricia and Emma whispering in the corner, Andrew checking his phone, and a handful of directors whose faces betrayed the usual polite apathy. Patricia called the meeting to order with maternal authority. Her voice was sweet, but threaded with ice. "We have some serious matters to address," she began, glancing at Anna with rehearsed concern. "There have been discrepancies in company finances, and unfortunately, the evidence points toward financial misconduct." Emma's face was poised in a mask of worried loyalty, eyes flicking between Anna and the assembled board. "We wish this weren't true, but for the good of the company, of the family, we can't ignore the signs." The room tensed. Anna felt the weight of her family's gaze, anticipation, doubt, and, from some, the relief of not being in her seat. She withheld any outward reaction. It was exactly as she'd foreseen. Patricia produced a slim folder, what was supposed to be their pièce de résistance. "Anna, you authorized a number of wire transfers out of the consulting fund, which never reached their declared destinations. Would you like to explain?" Anna's eyes met Patricia's,
Tell me what
calm
happened.
and steady. She watched Emma fidget, Andrew's confusion, the older directors eager for someone to clear the fog. Anna took a measured breath and pushed her own folder onto the table. "With permission," her voice rang out. "I'd like to clarify the actual source and intent of those transactions." She didn't plead for understanding or mercy. She simply unfolded the evidence. She started with emails, her own, and more importantly, the ones that Patricia and Emma had carelessly sent to each other using the company's server, thinking Anna's access had been quietly revoked. The texts appeared on the monitor Anna had specifically requested for this meeting. "Once we file those consulting contracts under Andrew's department, it'll look like Anna's doing. She'll never see the transfer logs." Anna did not pause. Next, she displayed flagged bank statements. "Here is the account in question," Anna explained, highlighting transfers. "Each payment, as you can see, lands first in a shell company registered in New Hampshire, then is wired into an account under Emma's maiden name. The forensic accountant I retained traced the path. I have all the authorizations and timestamps, alongside security footage showing who was using the finance director's office at the time. Tom, the head of security and Anna's trusted ally, quietly plugged in a drive. Up came grainy, time-stamped camera footage. Patricia and Emma riffling through files after hours. Emma scanning a signature sheet into her phone. The silence in the room thickened. The meticulousness of Anna's research made denial nearly impossible. Patricia's facade cracked only for a second, a tremor around her eyes. Emma sucked in a sharp breath, fingers clenching in her lap. But Anna wasn't finished. She played recordings of late-night phone calls. "Patricia, just get those documents signed, Emma. Anna is getting suspicious." The dam broke. The evidence was overwhelming. Not just circumstantial, but concrete, cross-verified, and presented with the cool assurance of someone who had learned not just to survive, but to outplay her opponents. Andrew stumbled to his feet, his confusion replaced by dawning horror. "Is this true?" he whispered to Emma, voice shaking. Emma lost her composure. "It wasn't supposed to get this far," she sputtered, tears springing to her eyes. "Patricia said everyone would believe Anna was the problem. We never thought—" Patricia tried to regain control, insisting, "This is a misunderstanding. Anna is twisting the facts." But it was too late. Board members were already murmuring, legal counsel scribbling frantic notes, a couple of older directors glaring at Patricia and Emma as if seeing them for the first time. The power in the room had shifted, abruptly and irrevocably. Anna, her voice steady but heavy with emotion, turned to her father. "You taught me that the Campbell legacy rests on accountability and trust. I still believe that, which is why I'm recommending that all evidence be given to the legal authorities. This betrayal is not just against me, it's against everything this family stands for. For a moment, the only sounds were the tick of the antique clock and the buzz of summer cicadas drifting in from the garden. Patricia stared at Anna in disbelief, her composure mere seconds from collapse. Emma sobbed quietly, face wet with the ruin of her plans. What followed was a blur. Andrew demanding answers, board members calling for a full review, an urgent call placed to the company's outside attorneys. Patricia, stripped of her imperious dignity, left the room on shaking legs. Emma following, broken and exposed. Anna sat quietly as the chaos swirled. She was not vindictive in her victory. As the meeting's aftermath unfolded, she gave a brief, private interview with the family attorney, handed over the digital and physical files, and asked that the investigation be handled with transparency and respect for due process. As dusk approached, she walked from the mansion's shadowed halls into the fading light, feeling the weariness seep from her body. Her heart was heavy. No triumph could erase the pain of betrayal, the years of being doubted and manipulated. Yet beneath the ache, there was something new, something stronger, a sense of wholeness, hard-earned and shining through. For Anna Campbell, facing the deceit was never about revenge. It was about restoration of herself, of the truth, and of the soul of a family teetering on the edge of collapse. And as the garden's evening breeze stirred, Anna finally allowed herself to hope for justice, for healing, and perhaps a future no longer framed by shadows. Truth revealed. The impact of Anna's revelations reverberated through the Campbell family and business, like a thunderclap shattering old stained glass. In the aftermath of the meeting, the very air in the mansion seemed to have shifted, heavier, unsettled, charged with the fallout of exposed secrets and betrayed trust. The meticulously crafted facade of unity Patricia and Emma had pasted over the Campbell legacy crumbled in an afternoon, leaving everyone to reckon with the raw, complicated truth. Whispers and shockwaves. Word traveled quickly through the upper echelons of Boston society and the closely woven circles of the city's business elite. Within days, Campbell Group's board and key executives gathered for an emergency session, many still stunned, some quietly relieved, and others fearful of what else might come to light. The company's general counsel, typically mild-mannered, convened a team to curate every piece of evidence Anna had presented. For the first time in years, Anna sat at the head of the table, her presence carrying new weight, not out of fear, but from the clarity of truth. In family spaces, shock gave way to anxiety. Andrew was withdrawn, pacing the halls late into the night, reckoning with the fact that his wife had conspired under his nose, and that his stepmother, whose approval he'd always sought, was not the omnipotent guardian of family honor he'd believed. Patricia isolated herself in her suite, fielding frantic calls from attorneys and old friends, her well-maintained network of influence suddenly brittle and defensive. Emma, disheveled and pale, barely left their guest room, fending off an onslaught of angry texts from former allies and, finally, a call from her own mother, her voice sharp with disappointment and disbelief. The reckoning within the company. As legal investigators combed through records, employees braced for more headlines. Anna, determined to protect the innocent, briefed her team with care. "We will cooperate fully. If you have done nothing wrong, you have nothing to fear. Our strength now is in transparency." It became clear just how deep Patricia and Emma's machinations ran. Investigators uncovered a string of consulting payments, unauthorized bonuses, and direct communications with the Campbell Group's biggest rival. Emma had met the competitor's CFO 3 times over lunch, leaking strategy reports and offering influence in exchange for kickbacks. Internal emails laid the web bare. Emma promising to swing board votes, Patricia instructing underlings to shun Anna from decision-making. The board moved swiftly. After years of muttering about tradition, they now realized how close they came to sacrificing the company's future for the sake of appearances and comfort. A resolution passed: immediate suspension of Patricia and Emma from any company involvement, pending a full legal review. No one questioned Anna's leadership now. Behind closed doors, tensions in the mansion grew in the wake of public disgrace. The once grand staircase echoed with arguments, whispered debates late at night, and the unsteady truce of a family forced to confront itself honestly. Andrew, caught between guilt over his passivity and concern for Anna, approached her quietly in the study one night. His voice was tight with regret. "I should have seen what was happening. I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better. From all of us." Anna, weary but sincere, placed a hand on his shoulder. "We can't change the past, Andrew, but we can choose what we build from here. I want this family to stand for something real again." Media frenzy and social fallout. The Campbell scandal quickly became fodder for Boston's newspapers and business journals. "The End of the Campbell Illusion" blared one headline. Photographers camped at the gates, snapping shots of deliveries, guests, even trash bins, in hopes of finding something new. Anonymous sources from within the company reached out to the media, not to bury Anna, but to praise her resolve and transparency. Employees who'd quietly endured Patricia's and Emma's games finally felt safe to speak out, and Anna listened to every account of injustice, promising change. Patricia and Emma, meanwhile, found themselves ostracized by the same social circles that once exalted them. Galas that regularly placed them on guest lists now issued polite, generic refusals. The Campbell name, at least for a time, became synonymous not with scandal, but with the strength to confront it. Legal consequences and justice. In early August, state prosecutors announced the launch of a formal investigation into corporate fraud and embezzlement at Campbell Group. Emma, already shaken and emotionally drained, agreed to cooperate in exchange for leniency, admitting to the principal details of her conspiracy with Patricia. Patricia, once steely and untouchable, was served with subpoenas. The sight of process servers at the grand gates caused an unprecedented stir among the neighbors. Anna surrendered all eligible evidence, insisting the legal process be handled with transparency and integrity. "This is not about vengeance," she told reporters. "It's about restoring trust for our employees, our customers, and the city we call home." Resilience and rebuilding. Inside the company, as the dust settled, Anna began a careful review of policies and personnel. She reinstated wrongfully sidelined managers and restructured governance so that no single person, herself included, could ever wield unchecked power again. Recognizing the wounds that ran much deeper than profit and loss, she established an internal ombudsperson, inviting anyone with grievances to speak openly. Anna's message rang clear. Campbell Group was being reborn as a company where merit, not manipulation, would chart its course. Her renewed presence at company headquarters brought a shift in atmosphere. Staff meetings became inclusive and vibrant, with Anna encouraging disagreement and innovation. Managers found her open-door policy was not a slogan, but a real invitation. Slowly, The tone among employees moved from anxiety to hope. Ripples in the family. The ripple effects at home were equally profound. With Emma and Patricia gone, Anna gently reclaimed her late mother's belongings, restoring small corners of warmth within the mansion. She invited extended family for Sunday brunches, reconnecting cousins who'd stayed away out of discomfort. Andrew, anxious to make amends, returned to the company, this time requesting to work under Anna's direct supervision. "I need to earn it, just like anyone else," he admitted, humility for the first time shadowing his voice. Anna accepted, but not out of sentimentality. She had learned that trust, once broken, must be rebuilt with patience and proof. A symbol, beyond the Campbells, word of Anna's stand traveled beyond Boston. Women's business networks invited her to speak. Harvard Business School profiled her story, emphasizing not just her intelligence, but her resilience and ethics. Young women in her orbit began treating her as a quiet mentor. Anna, always reserved, surprised herself by feeling comfortable with the attention, knowing it wasn't about publicity, but about showing what principled leadership could look like. Looking forward, by fall, the Campbell Group was on solid footing again, smaller for the wounds it had suffered, but infinitely stronger at the core. The truth, painful as it was, had freed the family from the tyranny of appearances. Anna, battered by crisis but emboldened by victory, finally allowed herself to envision a legacy shaped by integrity. And so, late one crisp evening in October, Anna stood at her office window overlooking the city. Boston's skyline blinked softly in the dusk. She breathed in deep, feeling for the first time in years that she was truly home. In her family, in her company, and in her own skin. Pain and rebirth, the aftermath of a scandal, no matter how thoroughly the truth is revealed, leaves wounds visible and invisible. For Anna Campbell, the pain of betrayal by loved ones was something no boardroom victory or public exoneration could instantly erase. The weeks that followed the explosive exposure tested her to the core, forcing her to draw deeply on the stores of strength she did not realize she possessed. She returned to the mansion each evening after marathon days of damage control, with a heaviness that clung to her. The shadowed hallways, stripped of Patricia's commanding presence and Emma's feverish energy, now echoed with an unfamiliar silence. Anna would pause at the grand staircase, her hand resting on the banister her mother had polished decades before, and feel the ache of absence, a gaping void where the noisy assurance of family once had been. It was as though the whole house, as much as the family, was in mourning. The pain was not confined to nostalgia or even grief. There was anger, too, at herself for not fighting back sooner, at her father for allowing tradition to blind him, and yes, at Patricia and Emma, whose ambitions had nearly broken more than just a business. Sometimes, Anna would stand in her childhood bedroom, surveying the memorabilia of past triumphs, wondering what any of it truly meant. Was legacy really just a gilded cage? Or could it be the key to something better? Grieving and letting go. And in the following months, Anna attended therapy quietly, both for herself and with Andrew, who grappled with guilt and confusion. She realized that healing was not about forgetting or suppressing pain, but about acknowledging it openly and daring to process it, even when it seemed unbearable. Sessions with the family therapist were raw. Confessions, apologies, refusals, and most importantly, the first stirrings of understanding. Anna began to let go, gently and deliberately. She cleared her office of files linked to the scandal, removing the bitter physical reminders of every slight, every scheme. She made it a rule not to check her work email after 8 p.m. and started running again in the mornings, her father's old routine. Sometimes, as the sun rose over the Charles River and she watched the city come alive, Anna found herself quietly forgiving Patricia and Emma, if not for their actions, then for the limitations that drove them to such choices. This process did not make her pain vanish, but it stopped it from dictating her future, restoring the family fabric. For the extended Campbell family, the truth had been a necessary but brutal medicine. Cousins who had previously kept their distance reached out with tentatively honest messages. Anna, ever reserved, invited them over for Sunday brunches, this time not in the service of image, but as a means of slowly stitching back trust and connection. Laughter at the table was hesitant at first, conversation careful, but it became easier with time. Andrew's efforts to earn redemption were genuine. No longer content to coast on lineage, he started as an assistant on the restaurant floor, shadowing managers and listening to kitchen staff. Anna watched, both proud and guarded, as he humbly asked questions and quietly made amends over small victories. Andrew, resolving a staffing crisis without anyone's help, securing a new vendor contract, or even simply staying late to lend a hand. Anna came to see her brother less as a rival and more as a partner in renewal. Company culture, sowing the seeds of renewal. Inside Campbell Group, Anna championed a different kind of leadership. Rather than ruling from above, she met with junior staff in the company cafeteria. Her presence now free of the armor that had shielded her during the worst days. She launched listening sessions, attended by line cooks, cleaners, and office administrators, during which she took notes quietly and asked for candid feedback. Everyone was stunned by the change. Older employees, used to the old hierarchy, hesitated before realizing that Anna's vulnerability in the face of adversity had earned their respect more than 100 gala speeches ever could. She instituted new transparency policies, quarterly open forums, systemic anonymous reporting for grievances, and a commitment to promoting based on skill and integrity. The cynics, who whispered that the changes would never last, found themselves outnumbered by a growing cohort of staff, empowered to speak and be heard. Personal resurgence. As the business stabilized, Anna refocused on her own life outside of work for the first time in years. She joined a local running club, reconnected with old college friends, and discovered a fondness for painting, something she had put aside after her mother died. Evenings often found her in the restored sunroom, dabbing color onto canvas, letting the act of creation work quietly against the ache of destruction. Anna also began getting invitations, at first reluctantly accepted, to speak at universities and women's leadership forums. Her story resonated with anyone who had ever been underestimated, sidelined, or stabbed in the back by those who should have been allies. Anna approached these opportunities without bravado. She shared not only her triumphs, but her suffering and mistakes. Audiences responded. Young women lined up after her talks, seeking advice, offering thanks. Anna felt a purpose growing within her that was no longer defined solely by her family's legacy, but by the possibility of inspiring others to persevere and rebuild. Shadows and hope. Of course, shadows remained. Patricia and Emma's exile from both the company and the family was a source of gossip in Boston's upper crust for months. Anna did not gloat. In quiet moments, she mourned the relationships lost, the dinners that would always have empty seats. She worried for Andrew's young children, who had lost a mother, not in the legal sense, but in the ways that matter most. A present, nurturing figure. Sometimes, Anna would find herself at her mother's grave, tracing the family name on the stone, whispering an update about the company, or simply the story of a particularly good day. It was these moments that taught her that renewal is not a sudden burst, but a slow, persistent unraveling of wounds. A relentless push toward the light, one morning at a time. Legacy, reimagined. By the end of that bruising year, the Campbell Group was leaner and smarter. Loyalty was no longer bought with fear or favoritism, but earned by decency and vision. Anna let herself dream of a future where her leadership would be measured by the impact she made on people as much as profit. At the annual staff banquet that November, Anna took the microphone with a smile that trembled only slightly. "We are more than the sum of our mistakes," she said. "We are a family, not just by blood, but by how we show up for each other. In pain, yes, but more importantly, in hope." Thunderous applause filled the hall.
David.
Anna looked out, not just at her brother and employees, but at the sea of humans made braver, not weaker, by hardship. In their eyes, she saw what rebirth really looked like. Not triumph over pain, but movement through it, a stubborn, beautiful insistence on the worth of beginning again. And in that moment, Anna Campbell finally stepped out of the shadows. She was not just the survivor of scandal or the restorer of a tattered legacy. She was her own woman, scarred, changed, and, at last, whole. The Steel Woman rises autumn, crept into Boston with a crisp wind, and burnished leaves swirling across the Campbell estate's broad driveways. The mansion, once burdened by the heaviness of secrets, now glowed at dusk, its windows golden, the air inside no longer thick with unspoken tensions. Change was in the air, palpable and undeniable, and at its center stood Anna Campbell, a woman forged in adversity. In the months since the scandal, Anna had become something of a living legend, not only within the halls of her own company, but across the city. The polite whispers that used to follow her at events, once fueled by skepticism, envy, or pity, gave way to a quiet awe. People wondered aloud how she had managed to survive such a storm without breaking. Some marveled at her resilience. Others tried to emulate her silent discipline. But Anna never thought of herself as a symbol, much less a paragon of strength. For her, each day was simply an act of choosing to stand up and move forward, no matter the memories that haunted the quiet moments or the doubts that occasionally crept in at midnight. The pain hadn't vanished, nor had the scars softened, but they had become a part of her, proof she could not only endure, but grow. Leading with vision. At Campbell Group, Anna's philosophy reshaped every aspect of the company's culture. Long gone were the days of closed-door decisions and rigid hierarchies. She worked tirelessly alongside department heads and even entry-level employees, her schedule packed with town halls, brainstorming, meetings, and coffee chats with those who'd never dared speak up before. Where some leaders sought control, Anna encouraged agency. Mistakes weren't punished. They were discussed, learned from, and used as stepping stones for innovation. Promotions and key roles were awarded based not on connections or seniority, but on character and contribution. When a young prep cook suggested a marketing campaign that ended up making headlines and boosting sales, Anna invited her to present at the next board meeting as an equal. The ripple effect was unmistakable. Ambition blossomed across the ranks, but this time fueled by hope rather than fear. Anna also established the Campbell Fellowship for Women in Leadership, an annual program designed to mentor young female professionals, provide scholarships, and create a network of support for women stalled by glass ceilings in their chosen industries. During the inaugural luncheon, Anna spoke briefly, her voice steady. Strength isn't found in never being doubted or denied, but in facing it head on and refusing to shrink. The applause that followed was thunderous and deeply sincere, reshaping family bonds. The restoration of the family did not happen overnight. Some wounds healed slowly. Some Sundays, the dining room still felt too big, the absences too loud. Yet every week, Anna made space at the table for all. Her father, grown quieter and more reflective after the downfall of the previous matriarch. Her brother, humbled but eager for redemption. Cousins and distant relatives who had skirted the drama but yearned, now, to reconnect. Andrew became one of Anna's staunchest supporters, often pushing her to delegate, even teasing her out of her lingering reserve with jokes about old squabbles and what he called her iron-willed Harvard stare. The trust, once shattered, was now rebuilt brick by brick. Each shared success or honest conversation adding strength to the new foundation. Anna even found herself able to speak of Patricia and Emma without anger. When asked by the younger members of the family about what had happened, she told the truth, but never with malice. Instead, she focused on how ambition, when untempered by values, could lead good people astray, and how important it was, even in pain, to forgive, if not to forget. Stepping into her own story, invitations poured in for Anna to speak at universities, charities, and women in business forums across the Northeast. She traveled to New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. Her once private battles, now a catalyst for public change. Everywhere she went, stories followed of women passed over for promotion, pushed aside by family expectations, or manipulated by those who feared their strength. Anna listened to each one, taking time to offer counsel or simply a moment of validation. Unlike many so-called corporate celebrities who courted attention, Anna guarded her authenticity. She refused to whitewash her history or downplay moments of doubt. She joked about her habit of de-stressing with painting, recounted her sleepless nights and awkward missteps, and refused to distill her journey into 10 easy steps to resilience. Audiences responded, not just with applause, but with lasting engagement, emails, letters, and over time, the visible rise of women in new leadership roles across industries. Anna's reputation spread beyond the circles of privilege. Local nonprofits invited her to mentor girls from under-resourced neighborhoods. She accepted, investing not just money, but time and presence. Whether it was teaching a negotiation workshop at the YWCA or sitting quietly with a student in crisis, Anna saw firsthand how strength, when modeled with humility and generosity, was contagious. A life claimed, not just survived. Privately, Anna found renewal in the simplest of rituals. Long walks along the Charles River, sketching the city skyline from her study window, cooking Sunday brunch for family and friends in the now warm kitchen that had once felt like enemy ground. She poured her energy into making the Campbell mansion a home again, filling it with laughter and light, a welcome contrast to the years of chill silence. She even allowed herself, slowly, the hope of new relationships. Trust did not come easily, but it came, built quietly, nurtured with patience. Friends admired her honesty, and for the first time in years, Anna found herself genuinely happy in the company of others, not performing or defending, but simply being. The meaning of steel. Anna's steel was not the impenetrable coldness of stereotype, but the patient, flexible resilience hard-won through heartbreak and learning. She no longer needed to prove herself through awards or headlines. Her real measure was seen in the progression of those she mentored,
Well played.
the open smiles of her staff, and the well-tended garden that now flourished around the old estate, a living tribute to healing and growth. Her story became a beacon. Newspapers dubbed her the Iron Daughter, but she laughed when reading it, preferring to think of herself as simply someone who refused to yield to bitterness. When young women wrote asking her how to find courage, she replied, "Strength is not something you are born with. It is something you choose to practice every day, especially when standing feels impossible." A new chapter. On the first day of the new year, Anna walked the halls of Campbell Group headquarters before dawn. Sunlight edged the city skyline. She glanced at the walls, now hung with new photographs celebrating the company's team, and felt a deep sense of homecoming. She had not only protected her legacy, but transformed it into something worth inheriting. And so, Anna Campbell stood, to lead, to love, and above all, to be fully herself. In her journey from invisibility to influence, she had discovered the power in rising, again and again, not in spite of pain, but because of it. The world would not easily forget the daughter who became the steel that held her family, her company, and herself together. Nor should it try. After all, it was in rising, unbroken, uncompromised, and unafraid, that Anna had finally claimed her own story.